I better find your loving, I better find your heart, I better find your loving, I better find your heart, I better find your love.
So I am going to walk you guys through the materials that we'll be using. For yarn of choice, I am using a medium weight yarn, so I would recommend you use a medium weight or a lightweight yarn. You don't want to go too heavy with a yarn, so the bigger the size, the heavier the piece is going to be. You are going to need some measurement tape to eventually take a measurement so we can have good fitting. You are going to need a crochet hook. For mine, I'm using a 3.5, so if you're using a medium weight yarn, a 3.5 is perfect for the best tension, but you can also obviously size up or size down on your crochet hook. You are going to need some scissors, and lastly you are going to need some elastic band that we will be using for the waistband. So let's get right into it. So this pattern is worked in even number, right? So which basically means any number that can be divided into 2. So after making a slip knot, you are going to use your hips measurement for this part. So for example, if your hips measurement is 60, you're going to divide that amount by 2, and you are going to chain a multiple of 2, I would say, until you have the half of the measurement, which in this case will be 30 inches. So you're just going to go ahead and make a long chain, making sure you're chaining with an even number. So at the end of it, you want to make sure you have a number that can be divided into 2. So after you have your chain, you are going to chain an extra one, which is going to be a turning chain. So this extra one is not an actual stitch. Right after, you are going to go into the second chain with a single crochet stitch. And to work a single crochet, you're basically going to insert your crochet hook into your chain, grab the yarn and pull through, and when you have 2 loops, you're going to yarn over and pull through all 2 loops. Again, to work a single crochet, you basically insert your crochet hook into the chain, grab the yarn, pull through, and when you have 2 loops, you're going to yarn over and pull through all 2 loops. You are now going to repeat 1 single crochet into every chain until you get to the very end. So you want to make sure that you're keeping the same amount of chains you did. So in my case, I just chained 50, so I want to make sure at the end of the row I still have a total of 50 stitches. So right here I am at the end of the row, and you can see that I have 1 single crochet row, which is just super straight. From here on, we are going to start row 2, which is going to be a double crochet row. So from here you're going to chain 3, and this chain 3 that we're doing is a double crochet stitch. So for the entire pattern, whenever I say chain 3, that is an actual stitch. From there on, you are going to go into the second stitch, because into the very first single crochet you already have chain 3, which is the same as a double crochet. So you're going to yarn over, and you are going to go into the second stitch, which is basically yarn over, go into the stitch, grab the yarn, pull through, and this time around you have 3 loops. You're going to yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over and pull through the rest. Again, yarn over, go into the next stitch, grab the yarn, pull through. When you have 3 loops, you're going to yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. And just like that, you're going to repeat 1 double crochet until you get to the very end of the row. Right after your second row, you should have something like this. So now we have a single crochet row and a double crochet row. For the next part, row 3, you're going to chain 1 and turn, and this chain 1 is again not a stitch, so which means into this very first stitch, we are going to go with a first single crochet, and this is going to be a single crochet row. So from here on, you are going to repeat a single crochet until you get to the very end. So basically row 1 and row 3 are the same. So 1 is a single crochet row, row 3 is row 2, sorry, is a double crochet row, and row 3 is a single crochet row. So repeat 1 single crochet until you get to the very end of the row. This is what we should have after the third row. So you have a single crochet row, a double crochet row, and a single crochet row. Going to start row 4 by chain, and again this chain 3 we just did is an actual stitch. That is going to be our first stitch. For this row 4, we are going to do something a little bit different from what we've been doing. We are going to work a double crochet row, but this double crochet row is going to be a little bit different from row 2. So to work out for a second stitch after the chain 3, you're going to yarn over and into this row 2 with a double crochet. Crochet is going to be worked by yarn over, you're going in to this first space and coming out. So you're basically yarning over, you're going in and out a front post. From here on, you're going to grab the yarn and pull through, but when you're pulling through, you want to make sure you leave a long loop, because again, we are literally coming from row 4 all the way to row 2, so given the long loop is going to make sure the stitches. From there on, you're going to yarn over and you're going to go right into that same stitch with the front post. So you're going in and out, you're going to grab the yarn and pull through, and at this point you should have a total of 5 loops. So right there you are, 5 loops. What I'm going to do from here on is I'm going to yarn over, pull through all first 4 loops, and right there I have 2 more. I am going to yarn over and pull through the last 2. On we are going to go ahead. So if you shift the stitch a little bit, you can see that right here we have a single crochet, single crochet, single crochet, single crochet. But the chain 3 we just did is our very first stitch which we are available, and this is our next available single crochet. But because we already did the front post double crochet on row 2, that already means this next single crochet is already taken. Let's just use the word taken. Means the next available single crochet is this third one, because we already have 2 stitches for row 4. So we have the chain 3 and we have this front post, which means into the third we are going to go with a double crochet into row 2 and into row 3 at the same time. So for this next row after double crochet, we are going to work another front post, and again, because we already insert another double crochet into this, which means this stitch underneath, which is this double crochet stitch, is also already taken, which means this next double crochet is going to be our next available stitch to work into. So again, you're going to repeat the front post double crochet by yarning on this available stitch with the front post, grab the yarn, and you want to make sure you pull this through. When you have 3 loops, you're going to yarn over and you're going to go back into the stitch with another front post and yarn over and pull through. You want to make sure you're pulling the yarn through again, because this is being done in row 2 to fit row 4. From there on, you have 5 loops. You're going to yarn over and pull through the first 4 loops, and when you have 2 loops, you're going to yarn over and pull through the last 2. Just like that, we have 4 stitches of row 4. So we have a chain 3, which is our first stitch, we have a front post, which is our second, we have this double crochet at the back, which is our third, and this is going to be our fourth. So from here on, we are going to work another double crochet 2, which means into this, if you bend, I'm going to show you guys how I easily identify where to insert my double crochet. So right here we have a chain 3 and we have a skip stitch. So we skip the stitch, right, because this stitch aligns with the front post we did at row 2, and then we did a double crochet, which means this next single crochet we are going to skip, because this aligns with the second front post we did. So you're going to insert your crochet hook again, and you are going to bend. Honestly, it's easy to see where to insert, because if you align this front post well, you can see it automatically covers the single crochet space, which means you know you're not going into that space, you're going into the one that you can see. So this single crochet, if you straighten your row, you cannot see, so you're just going to go into the next available one, double crochet. And just like that, you just finished another set. From here on, we are going to work a front post. So you're basically switching between a double crochet in row 3 and a front post in row 2. So you're going to yarn over, and of course, because there's a double crochet here, that aligns with this double crochet, which means this is already taken and this is our next available double crochet. So you're going to yarn over, go into the stitch with the front post, grab the yarn, pull through, insert with the front post again, grab the yarn and pull through. And when you have 5 loops, you're going to yarn over, pull through your first 2, and lastly yarn over and pull through the last 2. And just like that, you have 3 fronts, another front post. So again, if you count all the stitches at the end of this row, you should still have the same amount. So in my case, I had 50 stitches, right? Which means I have to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 50, because this does not decrease. It's just a very fat front post double crochet, but it's still the same amount of stitches. So from here on, because this front post covers this single crochet, I know this one that I can see is my next, so I'm going to insert my double crochet on there, and from there on I know this one is already taken because it aligns with this double crochet, and this is my next available double crochet. Go into it with the front post, pull through. I'm going to have 3 loops. I'm going to yarn over, go again with another front post and pull through. When I have 5 loops, I'm going to yarn over and pull through the first 4, and I'm going to yarn over and pull through the last 4. And right from there, this my next single crochet that I can see is where I'm going to insert a double crochet. And this is what your pattern should look like, this until you get to the very end of the row. You are going to just go ahead and end of the row, right? So I just did my last front post right there, which means into this next double crochet is a double crochet, and because this next double crochet does align with this and the last stitch is just a chain 3, what we're going to do is we're going to just go ahead and insert an additional double crochet right there, because I cannot do a front post into that last stitch. So you want to keep the last stitch with a double crochet, and you're going to just go ahead and end off your row with 2 double crochets into that last stitch. For row 5 is you're going to chain 1 and turn, and we are going to repeat a single crochet row, which means into this very first space you are going to insert 1 single crochet and repeat 1 single crochet into every stitch. So the stitch, so you're going to insert a single crochet right there, you have a stitch, you are going to insert a single crochet. So you're going to just go ahead and do this until you get to the end of row 5. Coming to the end of row 5, you want to go into this chain 3 space right into the third. So right there I have 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go into the third with a single crochet, and that is my last stitch. Again, if you have to count your stitches just so you have the same amount, please do so, because you really want to make sure you keep the amount of stitches that you have at the very beginning. From here on, we are going to start row 6, which is going to be a double crochet, front post double crochet row as well, just like row 4. So you're going to chain 3 and turn, and from here on we are going to go into this next single crochet, and again the chain 3 we just did is also a stitch. So right there we have 2 double crochets. For the next row, we are going to do a front post double crochet like we did for row 4, sorry. You're going to yarn over, but this time around we are going into this double crochet right here. So you're going to yarn over, and you're going to go with your front post into that double crochet, the yarn, and you're going to pull this, obviously, like I mentioned. You're going to yarn over and go right into that same stitch with another front, and you want to make sure you pull the stitch so you're using a very loose tension for this front post part. And from here on, you're going to pull through the first 4 and yarn over and pull through the last 2. And just like that, you have 1, 2, 3 stitches. And again, just the same way row 4 was work, lap this, you cannot see the stitch, which means you're going to skip this and you're going to go into this with your double crochet, just like that, which means right after this double crochet we have a front post. So you're not doing a front post on top of a front post. you're doing it in between. So right here we have a front post and we have a double crochet. We will be doing the front post into the double crochet and not into the front post. So you're going to yarn over double crochet, pull through, yarn over, go into the double crochet again, and you pull through again. From here on, yarn over and pull through the first four, yarn over and pull through the last two. And right there you have the second stitch, which means you are going to skip this because this overlaps with the stitch you just created, and into this one that you can see you double crochet. And I really hope this is as easy. I'm trying to explain this as easy as I can, but if you have any questions, let me know. But you're just going to repeat this pattern until you get to the very end. So right after this double crochet, my next stitch is going to be a front post, which means I'm skipping this because I'm not doing a front post on the front post, and also because this front post does align with this double crochet I just created. So they are the same. Line over, going to this double crochet with a front post, double layer or double, skip this stitch and go into this with a double crochet. And from here on, you can see at the back that we are skipping one, insert a double crochet, skipping one, insert a double crochet, inserting a double crochet. Repeat this until you get to the very end of the row. I am coming to the end of row 6. After this last front post, I have my chain 3 space, which means I am going to insert one double crochet into that space, a single crochet, sorry. I'm going to insert a double crochet to end of the row, and just like that, row 6 is complete. For row 7, you are going to chain 1 and turn. Row 5, which is a single crochet row. So into this very first stitch, you are going to insert one single crochet and just repeat one single crochet into every stitch. And also you want to make sure at the very end of this row as well, you still have the same amount. You're keeping the same amount of stitches you have until you get to the very end of the row. And guys, at the end of row 7, you should have something like this, and this is honestly what the pattern is made up of. So from here on, you are going to repeat row 2 all the way to row 7. So because I am using two different colors, at the end of row 7 I am going to switch back to, I'm going to switch to my second color, and at the end of row 7 I'm going to switch back to this color, and I'm going to repeat row 2, row 3, all the way up to row 7. I will try to leave a time lapse in the video in the description so you guys can go back to the rows easily, because I know it's not so easy for you to get this pattern after one row, but I promise you after your second set you are going to just nail the pattern. It's super easy and it's easy to work. After you finished your desired length, I am just going to go ahead and take a measurement so you guys know exactly what my length is. So right here you can see that mine is 15, but again this obviously can stretch all the way up to 18. And also we are going to be adding a waistband, little inches around the waistband for this method. You're just going to repeat the same exact steps for the opposite panel. The front and the back panel are exactly the same. You're chaining the same amount of chains and you're going to do the same amount of rows. I also wanted to mention that you can use whatever color palette you want to use. If you want to use one color, you can do so. If you want to use 5 different colors, you can definitely do so. And when you have both of your panels complete, we are going to go ahead and align these two together so we can attach them together. So for that, you want to make sure that you identify the front and the back. This is going to be the back side, while this is going to be the front side. And to attach this, you're just going to make sure one panel lays flat on the table, and you're going to grab the second panel and align that to the first panel. You want to make sure at the end that the back side of both panel is facing, the one side is facing the table while the other side is facing upwards. And from here on, you are going to attach the panels to the side. I still have my yarn attached to the last panel that I aligning the lower part to the lower part, right? So where you started, has to be aligned with where you started on the other panel, because this row is way longer than the last row, and that is going to just save you the stress of aligning both colors together, especially if you're using more than one color. This is just the easiest way for you to do so. So you're just going to, again, like I mentioned, just go into this available space on the opposite panel, and you are going to slip stitch your way all the way down, making sure you're aligning the colors, guys. Don't forget to do that, because if you don't, you are going to have the sides looking a little bit funny, and I'm sure that's not what you're going for. So coming to the second color, I will be switching my yarn, because that is going to give you a flawless look. Because if you use this yarn to attach this next color, it's going to look tacky, honestly. So we are going to switch the yarn. I'm going to show you guys how to do it so you don't have to cut this yarn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into that last available space while I want to do a slip stitch, and when I have two loops, hold on, let me do that. So you're going to go back into that last space with this color, and when you have, you're going to insert your crochet hook basically. And because I'm using a slip stitch, I'm going to grab the new yarn and I'm going to slip stitch with this. So now I have the new yarn on the crochet hook. When you have the new yarn attached, you're going to basically grab your working yarn, which is the new yarn, and with the edge and then the other yarn that you were working with, you are going to grab those two underneath. So these two are like underneath, and this is above, because this is what I'm working with. And I'm just going to just go ahead and do the usual single crochet. So I'm going to go into the next two available stitch. I want to make sure my crochet hook goes underneath these two excess yarn. Grab the yarn, pull, and I'm going to yarn over and pull through. Again, working my way, making sure the crochet still goes underneath the yarn. I'm going to just single crochet these two together. Single crochet these two, and this way you don't have to cut off the yarn and reattach the yarn. When you get to the very end of this color, all you're going to do is just abandon the working yarn that you're using now, and you're going to switch to the opposite color that you still have, because you're still going along with it, making sure you're slip stitching underneath the excess yarn. I hope you guys understand exactly what I'm doing. But if you're using one color, then you don't have to do this. This is so stressful. And imagine if you're using way more than one color. It's going to be extra stressful. But right here, I'm coming to the very end of my last color, of this last color. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back into that last space, and from here I'm going to drop this working yarn, and this is going to be my next working yarn. So what I'm going to do is just pass this to the side, and this is going to be my next working yarn. So I'm just going to grab that, and I'm going to yarn over and pull through. So now I have a new yarn as my working yarn, but then I'm still going to go underneath this, because I will need it to attach this side. But then this way, you see that when you flip this over, it is seamless, because you're using different yarn to attach it instead of just using one color, because then it wouldn't be seamless. So that's another tip. So from here on, I'm just going to repeat the same thing. I will just be switching back and forth from these two different yarns, making sure I'm using the same technique to attach both of them. And again, this excess yarn, you can also cut this at this point, because it's secure, so I don't have to keep using that yarn. So now from here, all I have now is this next working yarn, so which means my crochet hook is going to go underneath, and I'm going to use this as my new working yarn, and just make my way all the way down, switching back and forth until I get to the very end. Hey guys, so right here I'm working on my last set, which means I will not be using this yarn anymore. So what I did was I did go over the yarn with few stitches, and now I'm going to cut it off, because at this point I don't want to use the yarn, I don't want to go over the yarn up until the very end, because then this excess yarn is going to be at the edge, which is not the goal. So you want to just cut that midway into the last set, so at the end of the day it is going to be right there instead of being at the very edge. But I'm still going to just use this yarn because this is the only working yarn that I need now until I get to the very end. And you can just go ahead and sew in the loose end, this loose end. You can see that the colors just match perfectly, and that is what you want to do. Again, like I said, if you're using one color, then you are totally safe and you don't have to spend time doing this. But if you're using more than one, I would definitely suggest you take your time and do this, because if not, when you flip the skirt over when it's complete, you will not like the result. You will really not like the result. So I'm just gonna make my way up onto that last stitch. You want to make sure you attach the very last stitch at the very edge, and I'm just gonna chain one and cut. And just like that, I just finished this first side, and this is what it looks like, right? Perfect. Perfect. So I'm going to just flip this over and repeat the same thing, same exact step on the opposite side of the panel, so all the way down, and I'll see you guys when it's complete. So when you have both sides single crochet together, you are going to flip this to the opposite side, because we are going to make sure we fix this waistband. So remember, we used the hips measurement for this part, so we can be able to wear this from the underneath upwards. And now we have to make sure we fit this to your waist measurement, and that is where we are going to first, I want to do a few layers of single crochet around that area. So what I'm going to do is just still grab my 3mm, 3.5, sorry, and I'm going to attach the yarn to one side of the panel, and I like to do that just at the very corner. So where the seam is where I'm going to attach the yarn. And again, I'm using this color for the waistband just because I want to keep the pattern, the color pattern like this, but you can obviously switch to this if you want to. So from here on, I am going to go right into that same space where I attached the yarn, grab and pull through. From here, I'm just going to chain one and insert one single crochet all around into every single crochet from the previous row, all around, all around, all around, until I get to the very top. And by the way, I am using the edge of the panel as the lower part, and where I ended off my row with each panel is going to be the waistband. But of course you can do this the opposite way, you don't have to do that. I'm just using this so I can have the tightness underneath, because I don't want to go at the lower part with any more stitches. So I just wanted to mention that so you know exactly where you're inserting your yarn to do the waistband. So I'm just going to repeat just like I've been doing, one single crochet all around. When I get to the very end, the chain one I did, I'm just going to slip stitch right into that. So right here I'm coming to the very beginning. I am just going to make my way up until I get to that very first stitch, and all I'm going to do is just slip stitch into that, and from there I'm going to chain one and repeat one single crochet around again. And I think I'm going to do this for a total of 5 rows. So when I have that complete, I'm going to come back and show you guys what the next step is. So just repeat a single crochet when you get to the very beginning into this first stitch. I chain one stitch, I am going to slip stitch and repeat that for a total of 5 rows. Finished my 5 rows of single crochet around the waistband. From here on, you are going to now grab your elastic band, and we are going to attach this to the panel. What I'll suggest you do is just take the measurement, your waist measurement, and that is what you're going to use to measure the elastic band. And you want to make sure this is in the unstretched form, so when you eventually stretch this, it is going to fit around your waist and be able to go through your hips as well. I'd also suggest you add at least 2 inches to it, because we are going to make a knot. So in my case, mine is going to be 32 inches, and I'm just going to cut off the excess. And from here on, you are going to secure the two ends of the elastic band with a loose knot. So this is not going to be secure, this is just going to be loose, so we can easily attach this to the skirt, right? So again, I can go ahead and undo this, so you don't want to make that tight. From here on, we are going to go ahead and attach the band. So I'm going to just cut off the yarn from the single crochet because I want to make sure that the knot around the band is going to be at the center of the back panel. So now, again, you guys know the front and the back panel are exactly the same thing. So you can now decide where you want the back panel to be. You can do that if you think one side is way more neater than the other, but for me it doesn't really make any difference. So what I'm going to do from here on, you can see that the band, I am going to just align this, or what I can also do is take the measurement of the panel at the back just so I can get the exact center, because if not, I might have the knot the wrong side. So again, mine is still 22 inches, so around this side is going to be my center, which means I am going to insert my crochet hook into that center, grab the elastic band, and I'm going to make sure the crochet hook goes underneath the band. From here on, I'm going to grab my working yarn and just secure this with a knot. So the working yarn goes through the piece, but then underneath the band, and then from there you're going to grab the edge of it, and just the same way you would attach your yarn to a panel, that's what you're doing. The only thing is the elastic band is inside the loop. So and I'm going to go ahead and make some extra knots just to make sure this is secure. From here on, we are going to attach the elastic band to the skirt, and to do that you're going to grab your crochet hook and you are going to go right into that same space, grab the yarn, pull through, and I am going to use a double crochet stitch. So I'm going to chain one first, and from here on I'm going to yarn over, go into the next single crochet, making sure my crochet hook goes underneath the elastic band, grab the yarn, pull through. I have 3 loops, I am going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. From here on, you're going to yarn over, insert your crochet hook into a stitch, grab the yarn and pull through. You're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Again, yarn over, go inside the stitch, make sure the crochet hook goes underneath the elastic band, grab the yarn, pull through, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. This is what you're carefully going to do by inserting one double crochet into every stitch, making sure your crochet hook goes underneath the elastic band, because that's the way you're going to attach the band to the panel, and you're carefully just going to do this all around until you get to the very beginning. So if you have to stretch your band, make sure you do that. So that's the reason why we literally just use the waist measurement, so this band can actually stretch all the way and make sure it fits your waist perfectly. So you're going to just repeat this all around, and I'll see you guys when it's complete. Right here I am at the end. I just opened the band. You want to make sure that you evenly distribute the band around the skirt, because you don't want one end to have way more than the other end, so you want to evenly distribute this. So now I'm going to go ahead and make my knot, and again, this time around you want to make sure this knot is super secure, because if not, you are going to have this, you're going to loosen the knot, and which is going to eventually loosen the stitches that you just did around the elastic band. So you want to make sure that knot is secure. So right there I have my knot secure. I still have my yarn, my working yarn, so I'm just going to go ahead and slip stitch into my very first stitch that I made at the very beginning of the row, and I'm just going to chain one and cut this off, and I'm just going to go ahead and sew in the yarn before I cut off the excess. And now I can cut off all the excess yarn that I have. And for the elastic band, we are going to sew it in just the same way we just did with the yarn. So right there, I am just going to grab that and make sure I drag the elastic band inwards because it's currently outside. And from here on, I am just going to go ahead and just sew the elastic in between this half double crochet stitches that we created around the band. And that is going to just eventually add the elastic band. If you're making this for someone and if you want it to be more professional, all you have to do is just sew the two ends of your elastic band instead of tying it. Again, you guys know I'm not making this for someone, this is for myself, so I honestly do not mind this method. And I think if you just follow the same step, you can have a flawless finishing as well. So right there, you can go ahead. I like to just stretch off the elastic band just to make sure it's not too tight, and I'm going to cut off the excess. See, and just like that, it's flawlessly installed. I have an excess yarn right there. I'm just gonna sew that in, and I'm going to sew the elastic band the same way I just did with the same method. So again, to sew this opposite side of the band, I am going to drag the band inwards, and I'm going to just go ahead and go into the next following stitches, wrap the yarn around the elastic one around the crochet hook, and I'm going to pull that through just the same way I would sew in a yarn, and do that a few more times before I cut off the excess. Make sure you loosen it a bit so it's not too tight, and you can cut off the loose end. And just like that, we have the skirt complete. But this is the final look. If you want to do anything at the edge, of course you can go ahead and do so, but I don't think I want to. Let me know what you guys think, and if you have any questions and if you get lost along the way, feel free to leave your question down below, and I'll see you guys in my next tutorial.